The main function of the accounts receivable module is to keep track of the accounts that still owe you money. For those customers that still owe you money, each month you're going to want to print out statements for those customers to be able to mail out to them so that they know what they owe you for. Now, before we print statements, there are a few things that you'll have to make sure you have set up in the software, and there are tutorials for these different areas, but we'll cover them quickly. You'll want to first go into Admin Configuration and go to the Customer Terms section. And in the Customer Terms section, you're going to want to make sure that the terms are all set up with the proper number of due days. If you're going to be charging any kind of a finance charge, put that in. And if you're going to offer any kind of a discount for early payment, have that information filled in. Next, you'll need to have all of your customers set up in the program under POS and Customers. And when you set up your account customer, any customers that you want to be able to print a statement for if they owe you money, you're going to need to make sure that in the upper right-hand corner there under Statements that either Statements or Statements and Invoices is checked. And then if that particular account you'd like to charge finance charges if they're late in making their payments, then you need to make sure to check the Calc Finance checkbox. You'll also, of course, want to make sure in the Terms section that the terms are set to the correct terms for that particular account. Once you have all the account information set up and you have all of the terms set properly, next thing we'll want to do before we run these statements is we'll want to go into accounts receivable, and for any customers that we're going to charge finance charges for, we're going to want to go in and say calculate finance charges. So in the finance charge section, it'll have the last time you calculated finance charges and then the date that you want to calculate them through. So for example, if we wanted to run our statements for June here, we wanted to make sure we had all of the finance charges for June calculated, we would fill it in like that. If you haven't run the finance charges for a couple of months, I might suggest that you want to set those dates up 1 month at a time and just run this several times so that when you print the statement, it will show the finance charges for each month instead of one lump sum. However, you can put the date range to be a larger range to cover the whole date range that you want to cover. The minimum amount, whatever you put in there, if a customer is late on their payments, once it calculates it, if the amount that they owe is less than the minimum amount, it will not add any finance charges to their account. And then lastly, under customer, it's going to, when it says all, print it for all customers in which in the account section you had either statements or statements by invoice checked. So on your insurance companies, if you set the statement section to none, it's not going to print a statement for them even though they probably owe you money. Once you've got your information all set up there, you just hit OK. It'll run the calculation and then you just simply choose OK. Next, to print your statements, you're going to go to AR and choose Statements, or you can go under Reports, AR, and choose Statements. You'll pick the date range that you want to run your statements for. So again, if we wanted to run them, say, for June, we'd put in our dates for June. Again, we can do the statements for just specific customers or all customers, and again, all being obviously only customers that statements has been checked and they have a balance. Below that, we have a few different check boxes. We have an option to include credit balance statements. So normally when you print statements, if the customer has a credit balance with you, it won't print a statement. So if you want to be able to print those out, if they do have a credit balance, you check that box. And then print only outstanding items. That would be only things that are still outstanding on their account. So if they made a payment and it paid for some invoices that fell within the date range that's covered, then it won't show those items because they've already been paid. And then for any accounts where you've, on the account file, set the option to statements and invoices. You can check the print invoices box here, and then it will also, along with printing a statement for that particular customer, print out all of the invoices that are on that statement so they have a copy of those invoices. And if you click on the settings option here, this allows you to pick which format you want the invoices printed out. So in the auto glass, you can use, say, with prices, and for the flat glass, combine labor and material. You can check off any messages that you want to print, and then once you have your settings for that, choose OK. Last, you can go to the Report To tab. We have ours set to go to the screen. You'll normally want to print those to your printer, but you may want to look at them on the screen first just to make sure that everything's there that you want. You can choose the printer option and then make sure to choose the correct printer. We'll go ahead and choose OK, and you can see it will print your company information at the top, the date of the statement. If you have any remit to information set up in the configuration manager, it'll print that, and then the customer's name and address information, and then below that all of the invoices that they currently owe you for, the date of those invoices, the invoice number, and then the amount and any balance still left. And then at the bottom gives them a summary of what they currently have due, anything that's over 30, 60, 90, 120, and then the total due. And then you can add a message to your statements again through the configuration manager, and those statement messages can be added for different things. So if they don't have any overdue balances, you can have one message, and you can have a different message if they're over 30 or over 60 or over 90. So you can change the message to match up with that, and then only those accounts that are, say, over 60 would get that particular message compared to a customer who is current with you. Each customer will have their own statement print, so these don't print together, so you'll have multiple pages, at least one for each customer that owes you money. Obviously, if they have a lot of open invoices with you, you may get several pages. And that is how you would print out your statements. Again, if you're not getting a statement for a particular customer, you want to make sure first off that they don't have a credit balance with you. And secondly, you want to make sure that in the account customer setup that they have the statements option checked.